How you doing? All right, I'm Anthony. I'm the best man. Where's Mr. Landry? Hey, Mr. Landry. Rough day for both of us. Your daughter, my best friend. We're both letting a lot go. So I get it. We'll grab a drink when the party starts. In all seriousness, let's give it up to the bride and groom. If you are in this room, congratulations. You were invited to help celebrate one of the best couples to ever do it. Madison, you look beautiful. Most people don't realize this, but I've actually technically known Madison a lot longer than I've known Damon. And Damon is my best friend, but I've really been in Madison's corner since day one. I'll take a humble 33% on getting these two together in the early stages. There's two moments that come to mind. There's one time we were hanging out at Young Adults at our church, and I don't remember the context of what Damon was saying, but whatever it was not funny. But the only person laughing was Madison. And she hit a laugh and a shoulder touch. And I was like, there it is. The next moment is after a couple weeks of them talking, Damon and I were sitting in front of my house, and he was showing me some text messages. And I think this is just like a show of how genuine and straightforward Damon is, where they were talking about tea, and he had mentioned a tea shop, and Madison had sent a text where it was like, oh, I would really love to go there. And Damon was like, okay, well, anyway, I like this kind of tea. So you're welcome. I got you. I do want to take a minute to talk about the things that I appreciate about Madison. Over the last couple of years, I've had the privilege of seeing a couple different sides of her. The first side of that is as a friend. Madison's character usually precedes her. If you didn't know her but had heard things about her, you would most likely hear things such as, oh, you mean Landry? I love that girl. Or, that's Madison. She's so sweet, such a great sister in Christ. Or someone said, you definitely want her in your prayer circle because you know when she says, I'm praying for you, that she means it. And I can say wholeheartedly, all those things are true. If you're lucky enough to know her, then you've already been blessed. Second is as a follower of Christ. Constantly dedicated herself to her walk, especially when it wasn't easy. You've stood for biblical truth when it wasn't popular, and you've held your ground on it when people pushed back on you, regardless if it was family or friends, and that takes courage. To go against the comfortable, worldly known relationships that you're used to and make a decision to be someone who holds your values in front of you and displays them proudly. Two verses that come to mind are 2 Timothy 1:7, for God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of the power and the love of a sound mind. And John 15:18, if the world hates you, remember that it hated me first. The world would love you as one of its own if you belong to it, but you are no longer part of that world. God has called you and you have answered. If you ever need an example of a good, godly woman, that is it. And that is why I know that she is the perfect person for the third part of her that I've seen, which is the love of my best friend's life. One of my favorite things about her is how intentional she has been over him. I can say without a shadow of a doubt that God handpicked the perfect woman for Damon. I've thought about this for a while. As a best friend, you worry about the decisions they make. Is this the right thing to do? If it's us together, usually not. Is this the right person? Or is this the best for him? And I can definitively say that you could have lined up every woman on this planet, and I could walk that line 100 times, and every single time I'm picking her. So Madison, thank you for being who you are as a friend. Thank you for being who you are as a sister of Christ. But from the bottom of my heart, thank you for who you are to Damon. Damon, you made it, man. We've been talking about what it feels like this day every day this year and most of last year as well. You look good. She looks better, but that's how it's supposed to be. I still remember when Damon asked me to be his best man. I was going on a walk and he asked if he could come with me. And for Damon and I, walks are either the most deep, introspective conversations you could think of, or actually the dumbest conversation you've ever heard in your entire life. But he was like, hey man, I wanted to know if, would you be my best man? And I was like, yeah, duh. Like, I've already started writing the speech. Like, Like, what am I supposed to be, like a regular groomsman? Like, not for me. So of course I said yes, and I feel very honored to be called his best man. I've actually only known Damon for a couple of years, and when you think of somebody's best friend becoming their best man, usually you think of friends that have known each other for years and years, like high school friends, inseparable, tons of backstory and lore. But we didn't have that. We actually met at a game night, and when I first met Damon, he was very quiet, kind of timid, wouldn't really engage with you unless you were engaging with him. Didn't want to be at the center of attention. And I didn't know at that time, but the extrovert in me was like, that is our new adopted introvert. Um, Dave and I started down a path together we didn't realize until we had already become good friends of spiritual revival. The Lord was working in ways that would intertwine our paths together forever. And soon after meeting up a few times at Cornerstone and our men's Bible study, we became instantly great friends. And it was always easy. I believe that when the both of us were chasing after what it really meant to be followers of God, it aligned our hearts, minds, and souls on a common goal, and everything else kind of just came with it. We jumped into a lot of things together. First, it was a love of fitness, going to the gym, going on walks. We even started jujitsu together. We were getting injured around the same time together. And then doing hot girl meal prep nights where we cooked, made mixed drinks, and just kind of talked about just our future lives together. And through all of that, it always just kind of came back to God without it, ever having to try. It's cool finding someone who shared a love for dark and stupid humor, and the fact that when we are together, our collective IQ drops to single digits. But it didn't matter because we were brothers just having fun. The ability to go from deep conversations about our lives, faith, and future families to pointing and grunting at things to communicate are memories that I will hold on to for a lifetime. And what I believe God was doing there was showing us that the quantity, time spent together didn't matter, but the quality, the level of friendship under God, the time spent worshiping, time spent praying together, that is what made us best friends, and eventually not just my brother in Christ, but my brother for life. Psalms 133:1 says, "Behold, how good and pleasant it is when brothers dwell in unity." And Ecclesiastes 4:10 says, "If either of them falls down, one can help the other up, but pity anyone who falls and has no brother to help them up." As a man, I believe you need 4 people in your life. 1, you need someone who in times of need can mentor you when you're lost or unsure, someone who knows the value of guiding you spiritually, someone who turns you to God in every instance of doubt and hardship because they know that God is king. And when we seek him and we put our trust in him, we can lean into him and lay everything at his feet. That our God is bigger than anything that we are dealing with, and you have that friend to send you back to the Father every time. 2, someone you can be vulnerable with. Someone that when you're struggling, you are met with prayer and comfort. There are some of you that may never know the feeling of shedding tears while your brothers pray over you. And maybe I'm just an emotional guy, but that to me is what separates a bro from a brother. 3, you need a rival. Someone to push you, someone that makes you feel like, man, I'm giving a lot of effort. I'm in the Word. I'm on fire for the Lord. I'm doing great in the gym. I'm doing great at work. And then they come back and they just do one more thing than you. And you get into this back and forth over and over, constantly pushing each other to grow, never letting the other person slip or get too comfortable where they are. And 4, you need a ride or die. Someone that at any moment they will drop what they're doing and come help you. No questions asked. Bring the shovel, grab it in Arizona tea on the way. Anytime, whether it's midday, late at night, or even on the way home to a dinner celebration. Madison was throwing Damon a surprise party, and because he's a great friend, he left the Bible study that he was at early to make sure that he could make it back to what he thought was his roommate cooking him dinner, and didn't realize that he was actually just crashing his own party. So I left the house and drove back to my house and called him and said, like, hey man, like I'm really going through it. And without hesitation, he ditched the idea of going home to dinner with his roommate and came to help me. And although that was a moment spent to get him away from the party, the time spent in that, the prayer and conversation stayed with me throughout our entire friendship and how much it meant that you came there for me. Damon is a man who is all 4 of those things. That to me is what sets him apart from everyone else. Those 4 people are supposed to be separate, but if you can find all of those qualities in one person, then you found somebody that you should hold on to forever. I've watched you through the lens of our friendship grow into one of my favorite people, and I've watched you grow from being the quiet guy to someone I can't get to shut up. But I've also watched you grow in your faith as a brother and a man that I admire. I've watched you become a leader in your community, a leader in your inner circles, and a leader in your relationship. I've seen your countless hours of dedication that you've put into your faith. And most people we know, if you ask them, what is Damon's spiritual gift, they would say leadership. And as I agree with that, the gift that sticks out to me more than anything else is faith. I've never seen somebody so dedicated to their walk. You constantly bring God into every situation you're in. That's something I admire about you. You walk with the purpose of honoring and glorifying Him with your actions, using your faith to stand for truth in your own life as well as in your community, using your faith to show God's love and grace through you. And I know you'll be using your faith to lead your future family the right way. You're a leader, you're a brother, you're my best friend, but more importantly, you are a child of the one true God. And when you lean into Him as you have done so well, nothing can stand against you. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for allowing me to be vulnerable with you. Thank you for being my rival. Thank you for being my ride or die. Thank you for all the times that we've spent together. And thank you in advance for the future days of grunting at random objects, Smash Bros. And Rocket League nights, worshiping together, praying together, crying every Easter service when people go up and get saved. Thank you for everything. Almost done. I am so happy for you guys. I've been waiting for this moment for a while now. I can't wait to see where the Lord takes you guys in your life. And I know that wherever you go, wherever you guys end up, that you will always have one another, because anything that God has brought together, nobody can tear apart. Remember that marriage brings all the new joys of life along with all its trials. But as you guys go through this next season, continue to push God to the front of everything, and He will provide and guide you through all things. Remember to love one another not just because you feel it, but because God has called us to love. Damon, love and lead her as God has loved and led the church. Madison, honor, respect, and willingly give your submission to Him because He is worthy and you have chosen Him to lead you. Make sure you guys have a bunch of kiddos. Damon, to lead into new followers of God, rooted in biblical truth, that stand safe in the full armor of God that you have equipped them in. Madison, to love and nurture, to pass on the loving grace of God and the compassion to go out into the world and spread the gospel. And so I can babysit them and load them up on sugar, give them back to you at the end of the night. I love you both. You guys will always be my family. And with that comes a few things you guys will always have. You will always have someone by your side. Anything you guys ever need, you never hesitate to ask. Madison, I will always be there to support him and encourage him in all things. I will always be there to be his brother, his rival, his guide when he needs it. And I will always be his, and now your, ride or die. Damon, I will always be an additional line of defense in your family. You will always have a man in the fight in every battle, whether it's worldly or spiritual. And you guys will always have an uncle for your kids, someone you can feel safe leaving them with, although they might come home crazy. You guys will always have a home regardless of where we end up, whether it's down the street from each other or across the world. You guys will always have a place to call your own. And lastly, you will always have somebody praying for you, praying for God's love, grace, protection, and guidance over your lives, praying for the fruitful life you guys will live, praying for your kids, praying for your family's health and success, and praying until we are reunited in the image of the Father, just together. Thank you.